Hey guys, my name is Abigail and I am um currently working on my a memoir. Actually, I have two or three memoirs going on right now, but I'm working on the one that hopefully I will publish first, which is about 40,000 words so far. But I just wanted to talk about if someone is wanting to start a memoir or want to tell like a story of their life and you just don't know how to get started. A memoir is not like an autobiography in that like it's not just like a bunch of facts about your life or your story. If possible, it should be written like similar to a novel. And what I mean by that is that it should have like a theme, a plot, a setting, and a main character or characters. And the reason why it's very important to have a theme in your memoir is basically it's going to help a few things. It's going to help you know what to focus on in your story, what memories to include in your story, so you can leave the parts out that are not needed if they don't apply to your theme or if they don't have any reason for being there, they don't make sense to the reader or to the story. It will help you know what to write about or what memories to include in your story. It will help you know like what your purpose in writing this. Like, is it to help someone else with struggling in life? Is it to help with someone struggling after they had an injury, a traumatic experience, or it could be something lighter. It could be a love story. It can be, I mean, it doesn't have to be like anything dramatic, or it just depends on what your story is about. But if you have like a theme, you're gonna know better what to include, what to leave out, and so you're not gonna have to go through a lot of stuff after you've written like the first draft and like take a bunch of stuff out or add a bunch of stuff or whatever the case. And then the theme is something that like ties it, like starts from the beginning, and then it should tie like all the parts of the story until the very end. Like basically showing that you went through these struggles and you came out, and this is how you came out, and gives inspiration to someone else, maybe not going through the same struggle but they can relate. So yeah, and that's another reason why you want to have like a theme. You want to have something that the reader can relate to even though they haven't gone through the same experience, is because most likely you're not well known. So it's not like someone who is well known and they write a memoir and everyone knows about them, and yeah, the story gets read possibly because they already know about this person. So most likely you're not well known, like a celebrity or politician or something like that. So you're gonna have to relate to your readers in another way, and that is through whatever you've gone through. And in that way, if you're relatable, if people know your struggles, if they know how you got through them, they are going to read your story even if they have no idea who you are. So, yes, theme. And theme, you can look at it too, like it's like your why. So, like, why am I writing this story? Is it to help someone? Is it to inspire someone? Is it to let people know that love still exists? Then you need a setting. So basically, that just means where did your story take place? Or the setting. The main character, if you are writing the story and it is about you, your main character is you. If there are two or more main characters, then yeah. Otherwise, if you are writing about someone else or for someone else, then obviously the main character would be who you're writing about. If you're like a ghost writer or something for someone. And then the other one is plot, like the action, like what is going on in your story, what events are taking place in your story that is moving the story along, the action. So if you write like that, your memoir is going to be more like a novel, in that it's not just going to be like a bunch of facts about you that maybe no one even knows you exist except for your friends and family. And if you want to reach further than your friends and family, then you're going to have to write this similar to like a novel, in that you're going to have to keep your reader's attention and make them interested, and that's through a lot of things. That's through the character, how they relate to the character, how they relate to what is going on, like, you know, the plot, the events that are taking place, how they relate to the theme, like what you're trying to portray in your story, whether that's like, you know, I went through this and I got out like this, and you know, like it's inspiration for someone else who's going through something that they're trying to get out of. For example, um, basically, you're gonna have to be relatable, and you do that by writing your memoirs similar to the way someone would write a novel. You have to keep your reader interested, and you have to keep your reader hooked. And so, one of the things that I would focus on is the main character. So the way that you can relate to the main character is by showing like internal conflict. So there's external conflict and there's internal conflict. So internal conflict is what is happening inside the main character, like inside their brain, their memory, their fears, their anything that's going on inside of them or what they're thinking. You're gonna have to relay some of that to the reader or the listener. The way you do that is to show your fears, like, you know, I didn't want to get on the plane, for example, because I feared this. You know, I'm not saying it's gonna sound like that, but I'm just saying like you're gonna have to show like what you were thinking in this particular time that you were going through something. Literally, like someone can hear your thoughts. So that's internal conflict, and then the way that we relate to someone is by that, because everyone has internal conflict. Everyone has fears and doubt and worries, and so that's how we can relate to someone even if we're not going through the exact same thing as them. Someone can go through something completely different than someone else, but they both have internal conflict, they both have fears, and both of them are valid. That's how we can relate, through internal conflict. Like, you want to do this, but if you do this, this might happen, and so you have to make a choice. Like, am I gonna go this way or this way? Like, which way is the hardest or which way is the better way? Or and sometimes there are very tough decisions, but that is internal conflict, and everyone can relate to that. So you're gonna have to include that, if you want your readers and your listeners to connect with the main character. And you need them to connect to the main character, otherwise they're probably not going to care about the story. So that is a big thing, connecting to the main character and relating to the main character. That is huge, because if you start talking about a story, it could be any story. It could be a story, you could be telling a Bible story, you could be telling any kind of story. Whenever you start a story, if you listen to someone, they're gonna ask like, oh, who did that happen to? Who are you talking about? This story, who did it happen to? So everyone needs to relate to a character, because we are people and we want to relate to someone else and we want to understand who they are, and if we can relate to them, otherwise we probably don't care. So theme and relating to the character, those two things are very big. Setting is simple in a way. It's like you have to show where your story took place. That's the setting. So you're eventually gonna have to like show descriptions of like areas that you were, but like you're not gonna start out the story like describing like a whole picture around you. Probably you're gonna have to like jump into like a scene, like some kind of, it doesn't necessarily have to be action, but just something that is interesting that is gonna pull the reader in, and then later on you can describe things as you go, but you're not gonna just like have like pages and pages of like, this is the way this world looked, or this setting looked, or this area, or this country, or whatever it is. It would just be gradual as you're going, and everything should be gradual. Like the way you're getting to know the character, or the way you understand the way the character works, like that should all be gradual as you're going through the story. Um, like how tall is the character, or what is the character wearing, or what is their um I don't know, their personality. Like that is just gonna be incorporated as you go through the story. It's not like you're just gonna dump a bunch of descriptions in one page and be like, here. If you have any like questions, or you want me to touch on anything else, or explain anything in more detail, just let me know. So thank you. Bye for now.